Hello, so I'm going to go through the actual gameplay changes from the winter patch notes and show you what they actually mean and how you use them. So we've got the HUD options and we've got the changes to what it means by in combat. So first of all, we've got the large med bag. As you know, this heals in an area of effect and it doesn't heal while you're suppressed. In the patch changes, it's while you're actively being suppressed. So while your suppression level is constant or going up, the large med bag won't heal. The little med bag will. That will only stop healing when you're taking damage. Now when your suppression starts going down, the large bag, including the large ammo bag, will start working. There's a bit of a delay, it's about 1.5 seconds. Then as it goes down, both bags will start working. Both of the small packs ignore suppression. They only stop working when you take damage. So it will heal up until the point you take damage and then it will stop working. Spawning on a teammate now works like one of the large bags. While they're actively being suppressed or taking damage, you can't spawn on them. Right, so we'll move on to changing the colour of your sight reticles and your hipfire crosshairs. So standard, they're white and red. If you go into the options, into gameplay, go down to advanced options and scroll down past this, which we'll look at later, you will get to the hipfire reticles and the optic reticles. You've got colour sliders that you can then move backwards and forwards, change the colours to anything you want. Now most graphics packages will tell you what the RGB colours are for a particular shade. In fact, in Windows you can go into Paint, select Edit Colours from the toolbar. In the window that pops up, it will show you the RGB numeric values for any of the standard Windows colours, and it will also let you make your own colour and find out what the RGB value is for that. So all you have to do is adjust these sliders. I changed mine to green, but it's not a pure green. So I have the green at 100, the red and blue at about 20. Adding the red and blue just darkens the green a bit. With the sliders set, then just press back, save the changes and resume, and you can see my hipfire crosshairs are green and my sight reticles are green. I find this colour works really well. It does show up pretty clearly even against light backgrounds, but you can make it show up even more. If we go back into the options and then gameplay, back down to advanced options, scroll through back to the reticle options, and you'll see there's an option called glow, which is set at 200%. If you increase that to 250, 300, then what it does is it makes that reticle pop and glow even more. So now you can see it is really clear against light backgrounds. So the colours I found that work best are a light blue, an orange, or this green. But you can pick any colour you want, it's just a matter of getting used to it and getting the glow and the shade right. You can still lose the reticles in the sky or if you're facing towards the sun, but other than that, they work really well. You can also change the colour of the vehicle hoods, and you can see I've got an LEV with a red, but it looks pink, hood. So there is a brightness on these as well, so it does make a red look a bit pink. Now it works on all vehicles at the same time, so you've got a setting for basically your armoured vehicles, your tanks, your LAVs, and you've also got a setting for what it calls normal vehicles, so machine guns. So as you can see on this one, it's orange. So there's two separate settings for the two different types of vehicles. And if we go into the options again, I'll show you where they are. So again, it's gameplay and then advanced options. Scroll all the way down past the optics and you'll get to the vehicle. So the vehicle base reticle is for things like Jeeps and trucks. Anything with a simple crosshair. So here I've got it set to orange. I'll change that to white just so you can see that it does actually work. And I tend to make my crosshairs a bit larger, so I'll put them up to 120%. That's just because of my eyesight. Below that you've got a separate set of options for third person view. So if you've got the chase camera on a jet, or if you've got the chase camera on a tank, they've got a separate set of options. And then there's a set of main options for jets and helicopters. And below the jets and helicopters, you've got the specialised vehicle hoods. So this is tanks and LAVs. As you can see, I've got mine set to red, but I'll set it back to a more standard orange just so you can see it working. So again, you've got a glow on this as well, so you can make it pop more, but I tend to leave it as it is. If we go back and then save those changes, you can see that when I go into the Jeep, my crosshairs are now back to being white, and they're slightly larger. Not an awful lot larger, but they are a bit larger. And when I go over to the LAV, it should come up orange, and indeed it does. On CTE I had the vehicle hoods green as well, but I'm not really sure if I like that or if I'm going to stick to a more orange colour. The next set of options we're going to look at are the hit indicators. Again, these are in options, gameplay and advanced. So go down to there and past the vehicle options for the hood, you'll see you've got hit indicators. So the basic options, you can change their size and their transparency. And you can also turn off the damage type affecting the shape. Now, I can't really tell the difference, so I just leave it on. Underneath that, you've got 3 different settings. You've got the basic hit indicators, you've got a hit indicator for a headshot, and a hit indicator for a kill shot. On the right hand side of the screen, you can see it show me what my hit indicator currently looks like. So what I do is I change my basic hit indicators to white, the headshot indicator to orange, and the kill shot indicator to bright red. Now, can't show you this on the test range, so I'm going to have to go into a live game. In these next clips I've slowed the action down so you can actually see what's going on. So you get the white hit markers when you get a normal body shot. When the other character dies, you get the red hit marker. And although it's brief, that little flash of red does show you that you've killed your target and you can move on. It's very useful indeed. Now the headshot indicator isn't as important, but it is quite handy, especially if you're using a weapon like a DMR where a headshot can make a big difference in your time to kill. But for a normal weapon, you just get that little flash of orange, which is quite satisfying. When it comes to vehicles, you'll get the red hit marker as well if you destroy the vehicle and the people inside die, although it's not quite as reliable as the normal hit markers because sometimes you won't get a red one at all. If you hit somebody directly with a rocket launcher, then you will get the kill hit marker, and you'll even get the kill hit marker from slams killing somebody in a vehicle. The next change is to do with vehicle aiming, and it's called decouple aiming from turning. Now by default it's off, but you can turn it on, and I recommend you do because this makes a big change to the way that tanks work. If we spawn into a tank on the test range with it on, you'll see what I mean. So tanks normally, you drive around, you swing the turret and they're independent. Not anymore. If you turn this option on, the turret will attempt to stay pointing in the same direction even while you're turning the body of the tank. If you move backwards or forwards, then of course that's going to change where the turret is aiming. But rotating the tank no longer rotates the turret at the same time. So if you spot an enemy tank, you lock your gun on him, you start turning so that you've got the front of your tank towards him, the gun barrel won't move. So if I aim at this tank and start firing and rotate the body of the tank, you can see that apart from having to make a slight adjustment when I change the direction of rotation, I don't have to move the turret at all. The body is freely spinning, but the gun is staying locked onto the tank. If I turn the decoupling off again, you can see the difference. I'm having to work the mouse a lot to try and keep the gun on target, and it's not easy because I run out of mouse map. Now it does take a while to get used to this decoupling, but once you are used to it, it is so much easier than the old system, and in fact it's the way that tanks work in real life. Turrets are gyro stabilised to stay pointing in the same direction. The final thing to look at is the new vehicle information when you're spawning. So currently you don't get very much information. Again, if you go into options, gameplay, advanced, near the top you've got these new deploy screen options. So you set those all to show, and when you go back and try deploying on a vehicle, you can see there are some new displays. In the main window you've still got all your group information, but if you look at the side window that shows you the view of the vehicle you want to spawn into, you can see there's some more information in there now. If I zoom in on that window, you can now see that you can tell who is in a vehicle, what seat they're in, what class they are, and even what level they are. A big advantage of this is that if you see a vehicle's green because one of your squad mates in it, you're never actually sure if they're driving the vehicle or if they're just in a seat in it. Now you can actually tell if your squad mate is a gunner or the driver. You can tell if the vehicle might have a repairer, and you can tell which seat you're likely to spawn into. So no more spawning on a helicopter because somebody's in it and discovering that you're now the pilot. Anyway, that's it for these gameplay changes. As you can see, some of these changes, which were relegated to a single line at the back of the patch notes, are pretty major. Decoupling the tank turret can be a massive advantage because it keeps your tank mobile, and getting the right reticle colours can mean the difference between not being able to see your sights and being able to see them clearly in all lighting conditions. And knowing when your med bag is going to work is pretty important too. Anyway, like I say, that's it for this video. If you've got any questions, leave them below and I'll try my best to answer them. Hope this helps, and thanks for watching.